G'day guys, we're back with another Marvel's Avengers video, and today we're going to be talking about the skills that I've been having the most fun with and success with for Thor. Now, I'm not saying this is the be-all and end-all list of what you have to use and what skills you should never use. Everyone's got a different play style, and I'd be interested to see what skills you've had success with, so let me know in the comment section below what ones you think I should give a crack. I'd love to try a different build out. But to kick things off for new players, you'll see I've got all of the abilities unlocked. One of the really good things about Marvel's Avengers is once you've hit max level for a character, that means you get all of the skills. Eventually, every skill point to every level will get you all of the abilities, unlike some other games where you have to choose what abilities you want before you hit max level, and that's essentially it. You can't ever go back and get different ones. Kicking off with support heroic abilities, the first one I've got on is Ymir's Wrath. What that does is it gives nearby teammates a 25% boost to your damage when you activate Warrior's Fury. That's really good, particularly when you're playing with AI. I know they can be a bit dumb at times, but generally they'll stay close to you. So if you're getting hammered by a bunch of villains, to be able to pop this ability and give all the nearby teammates 25% extra damage can sometimes get you out of a sticky situation. The other one I've got for support heroic abilities is Asgards Fortune. So enemies, when they're defeated by Warrior's Fury, you have a 50% chance to drop heroic orbs. And you'll see when we're going through the skills, I'm kind of really focusing on abilities that give you heroic orbs or heroic energy. And the reason for that for new players is heroic energy will allow you to use the heroic abilities more. So anything that can give you back heroic energy is good, because then you can pull out those huge moves and just cause devastation. Jumping over to Assault heroic abilities, I've got Son of the Elder Gods on. Now this is really cool. What it does is when you use God Blast, it creates all those little whirlwinds that sucks in nearby villains, and anyone who gets caught in it will get a 20% damage boost added to them, and it also applies cryo damage too. So that's really good when you're getting penned in by a bunch of villains, and as I'm sure you guys know, that happens a lot in Marvel's Avengers. So anything that can kind of help you thin the herd a little bit and apply a status impact on them too is great. The other skill I have activated for Assault heroic ability is Rolling Thunder, and what that does is it gives you back 5% heroic energy for every villain that you defeat with God Blast. For my first specialization in the ultimate heroic tree, I've got Jotunheim's Tempest. When you activate the Bifrost, what it does is it creates an icy explosion, and that deals out cryo damage as a status effect to all villains that are caught in that area. So that's really good because it slows them down from moving, which is great, because some of the villains, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but you can get flanked by them, or you get aerial ones that pick you off. So to have some big hitter villains slow down and allows you to sort of just focus on one and knock them out and then move to the next kind of helps you get out of sticky situations. For my second specialization for the Bifrost, I have the Odin's Blessing of the Realm, which automatically activates Odin Force Overcharge when returning from the Bifrost. So when you have Overcharge activated, essentially for those who don't know, it just lets you deal out a ton of damage. And for Thor, it looks really awesome as well because you have lightning strikes everywhere, which is sick. Now looking at the Mastery skill tree, kicking off with Melee, what I've got is Melee Stun Damage. Pretty self-explanatory, this one. What it does is it increases the melee stun damage by 15%, and any enemy that's stunned is great, because then you can take them out a lot quicker. For the second, I've got Combo Damage, and what that does is it gives you 25% extra damage for combo finishes. And I don't know about you guys, but I personally love running combos constantly, and I feel like it's a really good way to break shields as well. So not only are you breaking defenses, but to get an extra 25% damage on top of it, this is definitely one that I like to have on. In the last skill tree for the melee section, what I've got on is Heroic Takedown Mastery, which gives you a heroic orb for every takedown that you perform. So like I said earlier in the video, the way I play Thor is I like to just constantly try and run those ultimate moves, so I need to be feeding the heroic energy. So you'll find when you're playing this game for newcomers that you get opportunities to do takedowns quite a lot. So to get heroic orbs for every takedown that you drop, plus all the other abilities that buff your heroic energy, you kind of get access to those really big moves like the Bifrost more often, which means you can not only get out of trouble really quickly, but you can also just take out big swarms of villains really fast. For range, I've got Impact Explosion turned on, so when you throw the hammer, you can hold R2. I'm not too sure what it is for Xbox, and then what that'll do is it'll just let off pretty much what the name is, a big electric explosion, which causes damage to nearby enemies. So I particularly like this because one of my favorite things to do with Thor is throw the hammer because it's pretty sick. So to be able to throw it into a big group of villains, charge it up, and then let off this big explosion to separate them is really cool. One thing that's super frustrating in Marvel's Avengers are villains that have armor and shields. So Guardbreaker in ranged, I feel, for Thor is really important, and it's one that I've been using as soon as I could unlock it. And what that does is you can throw the hammer and bust up shields and pin people against the wall. So if you've just got this one villain that keeps coming at you and you're just not getting those combos to shatter the shield, to be able to just throw the hammer and destroy it can really, really be handy. The last one in range is Speed Burst. There are a few different... I did jump around this a little bit, but I personally liked Speed Burst because some of the worlds when you're moving around, they're not... Like, I love the game, but some of the open worlds aren't that inspirational to take your time and check it out. So to be able to like move really quickly to different sections of the map and get those loot crates and get them really, really fast and move to the next objective, for me was worth having this on. So that's why I've got this. But what it does do is it does eat into your Odin Force. So if you are using Speed Burst and then you end up straight into a fight, you might find yourself in a little bit of trouble until you can build that Odin Force back up. But hey, for me, totally worth it. In intrinsic ability, you have Force of Will. So when you're dealing damage while Odin Force is activated, that'll give you 1.2% willpower. And willpower is health, for those who don't know in this game. Just to be difficult, they like to call it that. Took me ages to work out that's what the hell willpower was. The other skill I have on is Maximum Force, which increases the maximum amount of Odin Force energy that you can have by 15%. So when you're using, especially when you're using Odin Force for traveling, like I said earlier, for my ranged skills, to be able to get even more Odin Force built up, to use it for different abilities, I find really, really, really handy. And the final skill I have in the intrinsic ability tree is Surging Force, and that increases the regeneration speed of your Odin Force by 12%, which is worth having on considering you're using Odin Force for so many different things when you're playing as Thor. The last section I have is Lightning Field. When overcharged, surrounding enemies will be intermittently struck by lightning, but you do need Divine Chaos skill in the primary section for that one. Who really, let's be honest, anyone playing Thor, who doesn't want to be surrounded by lightning and taking out villains left, right, and center? Like that's why we play Thor, to throw the hammer and have lightning. So to be able to get overcharged and just have lightning striking down everywhere is so cool. The other one I have in intrinsic overcharge is Charged Resistance, which means you have damage resistance of 50% when you're overcharged. Now, as soon as you take damage, you lose your overcharged, but that just means if you get smashed with like a huge missile or an explosion or something that just deals out huge damage, it doesn't get you quite as bad. You can kind of get your bearings back. But it does require Divine Chaos skill, which is in the primary section to have. Lucky last in intrinsic overcharge is Damage Force, and that increases all damage by 15% when Odin Force is in charge. So depending on what situation I'm in, this skill selection lets me play a little bit differently. So when I'm in the open world, I can just use Odin Force to get around the map really quickly. But then when I'm in a big fight, I can use Odin Force to just dish out damage. And then if I do cop a hit from a villain, I should be able to get my Odin Force built back up really quick, get back into overcharge, and then just start dealing out the damage. And with Damage Force equipped, it means that all of that damage that you are dealing out is buffed by an extra 15%, which is really, really good. Not only to take out like really easy villains quickly, but to try and like dish out damage on those really, really big ones that just seem to take forever to go down. So guys, I hope you got something out of that and have been having as much fun in this game as I have been. Remember to like and subscribe to the channel. We'll catch you at the next one.